Hello, movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to talk about an oldie and a newbie, but both of them, I think, are goodies. So on today's episode, we are going to talk about Mr. Monk's Last Case. And this is a new movie that just came out, kind of continuing the story of Monk, if you remember the television show Monk with Tony Shalhoub, that I believe the last season ended like 10 years ago. It's been quite a chunk of time. I absolutely loved Monk. I thought it was just such a funny television show to kind of follow. And for anyone who is not familiar with Monk, definitely go check out like the earlier seasons and binge watch the crap out of that because it's one of my favorite OG television series. But it stars Tony Shalhoub, like I mentioned, and he plays a character named Adrian Monk, who is a police detective with obsessive compulsive disorder. And they do it in quite a funny way. You know, he has this, because I think of his obsessive compulsive nature, he has this incredible ability to solve murder cases and find out what's going on. And now 10 years later, they have made a Monk movie. And when I sat down to watch this one, I was kind of nervous, as I think most of us would be. Hollywood has done a lot of, remakes and reboots and all of this good stuff. And I think that the majority of them have not captured the feeling of the original content very well. We saw that with Willow. We saw that with quite a few other TV shows and films, with like Overboard and all of these things that have come out that I feel like just don't quite capture what the original thing was supposed to be. So sitting down to watch Mr. Monk's Last Case, I was prepared to hate it, but I was ready to give it the benefit of the doubt. And I am really glad that I sat down to watch this one. I think that they probably got, I would be surprised actually if they didn't, but I think that they probably got some of the same people that wrote the original one, or at least got some new writers on board that were very familiar with the television show and wanted to do it justice. They got all of the OG cast back, I believe, with the exception of one member from the television show. So Tony Shalhoub obviously is back playing Adrian Monk. Natalie, his assistant, is back in this one. She left the show midway through, I think, of the seasons that they had before, and Biddy took over as Sharona, and Sharona is the only character that didn't come back for the movie. But Leland is back, Randy Disher is back, Trudy Monk, they even got her to come on and kind of play her ghost self. Hopefully that isn't a spoiler. For me, I think this one turned out really, really well. It was just an extended episode, in my opinion. It was a pretty good movie. It was exactly the same feeling as Monk. They did leave it sort of open-ended, and I am wondering if they did that with the potential to maybe bring the television show back, and I would be all for that if they had decided to do that. I think the only thing that kind of surprised me with Mr. Monk's Last Case was that they did go pretty dark with this one, unexpectedly to me. Like, they do deal with some pretty dark, I don't know how to explain it without like giving it away, but some pretty dark sort of imagery and thought processes and stuff. And the case in general, I feel like, was a pretty horrific, kind of close to home type thing. So that sort of surprised me that they had gone that direction, but I think it worked out pretty well. Like, it was pretty touching and pretty heartwarming really at the end. But I really enjoyed it. I really loved the Monk television series, and I was happy as a clam to sit down and see that this one had been done really well. I mean, it had, to me, the exact same feeling as the television series and did not feel any different. Like, it, even though everyone is older and looks quite a bit different, to me, it was like you just blinked really long between the ending season 10 years ago and this new movie. So it didn't feel like there had been really a 10-year gap between it, even though they do tell you like in the movie, oh, it's been 10 years. And there is a reason for them kind of all coming back together, and it is not to solve a case. That's just something that happens in the movie. But yeah, I very much enjoyed this one. I kind of went and sat in it thinking that it was going to be the worst, right? I had feared for the worst and hoped for the best. And I was very happy to see that they had done this one justice and that they did a really great job. It was just as funny as I remember. I think there was only like one part that deals with an explosion, and I won't give anything away, but when you get to that part, maybe you will know what I'm talking about. But there is only one part, and that part with this explosion that happens where I was like, even though they made it into a joke, I was like, well, that seems like not the appropriate time to make something funny happen there, just because of what happened in the actual story. But I see why they did it. Like, they did stick with kind of what Adrian Monk is like, so it wasn't outside of character. I just thought it was a little bit strange that they would put that in there. But overall, very much loved this one. I would definitely recommend it for anyone that really liked the Monk television series. I think you will enjoy this one as well. And yeah, those are my thoughts on Mr. Monk's Last Case. I would love to know what you guys thought. If you watched this one, subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.